Welcome. Today, I'll take you through the chilling and suspenseful journey of the 2003 horror mystery thriller Gothica. In the eerie confines of Woodward Penitentiary, Dr. Miranda Gray, a psychiatrist, meets with her disturbed patient, Chloe Saba. Chloe claims that each night, the devil visits her cell and assaults her, a haunting experience that's left her deeply traumatized. Miranda, however, dismisses Chloe's story as a delusion, suggesting it's a defense mechanism to shield herself from the horrific memories of her abusive stepfather. Chloe, enraged by Miranda's skepticism, lashes out, leading the nurses to quickly step in and remove her. Miranda remains unfazed and heads to the office of her husband and colleague, Dr. Doug Gray. They share a passionate kiss, interrupted by their fellow doctor, Pete Graham. Doug heads home while Miranda stays to work late, her shift ending on a stormy night. As Pete escorts her to her car, Miranda drives off, only to be forced into a detour by a sinkhole on her usual route. Turning left, she crosses a narrow white bridge when she suddenly spots a girl standing in the middle of the road. Swerving, she crashes but emerges unharmed. Stepping out into the pouring rain, she cautiously approaches the mysterious girl. As Miranda reaches out to help, the girl stares at her intensely, then suddenly grips Miranda's face. Miranda screams as the girl erupts into flames, and everything fades to black. When Miranda awakens, she finds herself in an observation cell in the very penitentiary where she works, disoriented and with no memory of what happened after the crash. Panicked, she thrashes around the room until nurses arrive, sedate her, and summon Dr. Graham. Pete enters and reveals she's been in the cell for 3 days and gently prompts her to recall what happened. Struggling, Miranda remembers her last encounter and describes to Pete the strange girl she saw on the road. Pete insists it's impossible for her to have seen a girl, as there was no one else at the scene. Then, with quiet gravity, he tells her the shocking truth. Her husband, Doug, is dead, and Miranda herself is accused of his murder. Overwhelmed, Miranda breaks down in horror, thrashing as Pete holds her down while nurses sedate her again. The next morning, she's escorted to the penitentiary cafeteria, surrounded by the very patients she once treated. Chloe sneers at her, tossing a newspaper clipping onto her tray. Miranda unfolds it with trembling hands and stares in disbelief at the front-page article confirming her worst nightmare. Later that night, she jolts awake, disturbed by a faint, mysterious sound echoing down the hall. Miranda sees the words "not alone" appear in the mist on her glass door as if written by an invisible hand, causing her to jump back in shock. Overwhelmed and desperate, she convinces herself this must be a nightmare and curls into a corner, closing her eyes to escape. By morning, she's led to the showers, joining a group of inmates under the watchful eyes of guards. There, she hears Chloe's taunting voice, and turning, she freezes as she sees the girl from the road. Terror floods her as the girl approaches, digging her nails painfully into Miranda's arm. Her outburst startles the other inmates, who quickly back away, leaving Miranda alone and bleeding in the tiled, echoing shower room. In the infirmary, lying on the cold, tiled floor, Miranda watches as Pete checks her vitals, still believing she's delusional. She coaxes him into admitting his romantic feelings for her, but he brushes it off, insisting he's only trying to help. Desperate, Miranda tries reaching out to Dr. Phil Parsons for support, but he is hesitant and offers little assistance. Soon after, she meets with her lawyer, Teddy Howard, who somberly informs her that the evidence against her is so compelling that an insanity plea is their only option. The tension rises as Sheriff Bob Ryan, her late husband Doug's best friend, joins the meeting, casting her a cold, suspicious gaze, heightening Miranda's sense of isolation and dread. Sheriff Ryan loses his temper, accusing Miranda with seething anger, and thrusts horrific crime scene photos before her. She recoils, her hands trembling as she realizes her cuts are bleeding again. Peeling back the bandage, she gasps to see the words "not alone" etched deeply into her skin, the same chilling message she now notices in blood on the bedroom door in the photos. Overcome with horror, Miranda breaks down, forcing the medical staff to quickly sedate her. The next morning, Petey escorts her to see Dr. Parsons, where she insists, with a haunted look, that she was indeed there during Doug's murder but that she was not alone. Desperate to prove she isn't hallucinating, Miranda's gaze falls on a framed picture behind Dr. Parsons. Her heart stops. This is the girl she saw that fateful night. Dr. Parsons, visibly saddened, explains that the girl in the picture was his daughter, Rachel, who took her own life years ago. Later that night, Miranda awakens to a powerful presence in her cell. Gathering her courage, she addresses the spirit, calling out to it as Rachel and asking it to help her if it really is her ghost. To Miranda's shock, the cell door unlocks and swings open, granting her an escape into the darkened hallway, where she steps cautiously into the unknown. Miranda watches in terror as the ghostly figure of a girl drifts through a wall, prompting her to rush into Pete's office. There, his computer inexplicably powers on, revealing an article about Rachel Parsons. Suddenly, a surveillance feed appears, showing the ghostly girl standing ominously in the solitary confinement hallway. Alarmed for Chloe's safety, Miranda races to solitary confinement, only to hear a disturbing thump from Chloe's cell. Peering through the cell window, she recoils as Chloe's bloodied face is pressed against the glass, desperate for help. Just as Miranda attempts to open the door, a man with a tattoo of the animasola on his chest blocks her path, adding to her growing horror. Miranda tries to escape, but is tackled by the medical staff. The next day, she meets with Pete and urgently asks about Chloe, telling him about the man with the tattoo and her belief that Rachel didn't commit suicide. Pete dismisses her, attributing her words to delusion, and warns her that any more outbursts will land her in solitary confinement. Later, Miranda finds Chloe in the yard and, with deep regret, apologizes for doubting her terrifying stories. Chloe accepts her apology and embraces her, but her fear remains as she hesitates to reveal the name of the true culprit. She then issues a chilling warning to Miranda, urging her to stay vigilant. The devil is targeting Miranda next in the psych ward, and as she feels the haunting presence envelop her, she turns to confront her attacker. To her horror, the ghost with a rotting face emerges, violently smashing her into the wall. In a frantic search for an escape, Miranda finds herself tossed back and forth, her body slamming against the walls with brutal force, shattering the furniture around her. Just as she hits the ground, the authorities arrive, but in a moment of desperation, Miranda seizes the opportunity. She springs up and knocks the officer unconscious. Grabbing the keys from his belt, she makes her daring escape from the ward, fueled by a newfound determination to survive. The alarm blares throughout the penitentiary, signaling the officers to search for their missing patient, Miranda. In a desperate bid for freedom, she stealthily navigates to an unused wing of the hospital, slipping into the deserted pool to hide until the coast is clear. As she waits, her heart racing, she suddenly opens her eyes to find the ghost looming ominously before her. With a scream, she bolts away and dives under the desk of her officer friend, Joe, who, recognizing her plight, quickly hands over his car keys to help her escape. Miranda speeds off in his car, adrenaline surging, but her relief is short-lived when she catches a glimpse of the ghost in her rearview mirror. Driving recklessly, she races towards an intersection, oblivious to the approaching truck that looms ahead. But when Miranda slams her foot on the brakes, her heart drops as the car refuses to stop, panic clawing at her throat. With terror coursing through her, she pushes down harder, narrowly avoiding a collision with the truck, and lets out a deranged laugh as she crashes through road signs, coming to a screeching halt just inches from a gaping sinkhole. In a fit of frustration, she screams into the back seat, demanding to know what the ghost wants from her. Suddenly, the radio crackles to life, offering an eerie hint as she arrives at the home she once shared with her husband, the porch lights flickering on ominously. As she surveys the familiar yet haunting landscape, her eyes are drawn to the dried blood that stains the entrance, a grim reminder of the horrors that unfolded within those walls. As Miranda stares at the stains on the carpet, a flood of haunting memories rushes back, revealing a chilling scene where she stands over her cowering husband, a bloody axe in her hands. Yet, these memories feel foreign, as if they belong to someone else, leading her to suspect that she was merely a vessel for something darker. She rushes to the bathroom and gazes into the mirror, horrified as her reflection contorts into an unrecognizable figure. In that moment of clarity, she realizes that the one who killed her husband was not her, but the vengeful ghost of Rachel Parsons. Overcome with emotion, Miranda sobs in their bedroom, cradling a picture of her husband like a lifeline, when the ghost offers her another sign, urging her to confront the truth that lies buried within the darkness. As dawn breaks, Miranda arrives at their country house in Willow Creek, her heart racing with anticipation. Upon inspecting the empty home, she ventures into the barn, only to find it filled with broken, rusty farming equipment that tells stories of neglect. Just as she's about to leave, a glimpse of a video camera box catches her eye, leading her to discover a hidden entrance to the basement. With trembling hands, she switches on the lights and gasps in horror at the sight before her: a bed with chains, boxes of drugs, and an array of video equipment that paints a chilling picture of secrets long buried. As she plays back one of the tapes, terror washes over her. It reveals her husband's shocking double life, unraveling a web of deceit she never could have imagined. As Miranda delves deeper into the horrifying secrets of her husband, she discovers that he had been kidnapping, torturing, raping, and killing women, her heart racing with dread. Just as she prepares to escape, a police officer catches her, but before she can react, another woman emerges from the basement's shadows, her bloody hands reaching out to grab Miranda. The woman, revealing herself to be Tracy Severs, Doug's latest victim, sends chills down Miranda's spine. Taken in for questioning, Miranda seizes the opportunity to speak with Dr. Parsons, sharing her chilling experiences with Rachel and concluding that Rachel must have been one of Doug's victims. She desperately tries to convey her theory to Pete, but he dismisses her concerns yet again, leaving her feeling isolated and trapped as she spends a restless night in custody, haunted by the revelations of the past. In her dimly lit cell, Miranda demands to speak with Sheriff Ryan, but he is conveniently unavailable. As she waits, Pete embarks on his own investigation into the Anima Sola tattoo, seeking answers that might connect the dots of the unfolding nightmare. Later that same night, Sheriff Ryan finally visits Miranda, and in a desperate attempt to uncover the truth, she shares her theory that the phrase "not alone" signifies the existence of a second killer alongside Doug. As she meticulously outlines her psychological profile of this unknown assailant, an unsettling realization washes over her: the profile eerily matches Sheriff Ryan himself. It dawns on her that his eagerness to converse was nothing more than a calculated effort to cover up his dark secrets, plunging her deeper into the chilling web of deceit surrounding her. As Sheriff Ryan realizes that Miranda is onto him, he violently slams her against the wall, but in the scuffle, she rips open his shirt, exposing the Anima Sola tattoo on his chest and confirming that he is indeed the man she saw in Chloe's cell. With adrenaline coursing through her veins, Miranda seizes the moment to escape his grasp and races up the stairs, but Ryan is hot on her heels, firing shots in quick succession. One bullet strikes a gas pipe, sending a hissing cloud of danger into the air. Desperate, she reaches the locked doors and screams for help, but Ryan closes in on her, forcing her to hide beneath one of the desks. Cornered and out of options, he stands at the end of his tether, clutching his shotgun as he spirals into a deranged monologue, revealing the twisted motives behind his sinister actions. As Sheriff Ryan divulges decades-old killing secrets he shared with Doug, confessing to the murder of Rachel Parsons, he becomes enraged and prepares to flip over Miranda's desk. Suddenly, a shadow catches his eye from the other side, prompting him to shoot blindly as he pursues it. To his surprise, he finds a woman standing behind the glass, initially believing it to be Miranda, but it is actually the ghost of Rachel. In a panic, he fires again, shattering the glass, only to be horrified to see Rachel's corpse staring back at him. Terrified, he fires another shot, igniting the gas that surrounds him, and the ensuing explosion sends him reeling backward, engulfing him in flames. As the fiery chaos unfolds, he turns to face Miranda, the true embodiment of his worst fears. Aiming a gun at Sheriff Ryan, Miranda takes her final shot before bolting to the door, where she is met by a relieved Pete, who apologizes for not believing her earlier. Fast forward a year, and Miranda's charges have been dropped. She now walks the city streets alongside Chloe, who has also been released, and they have forged a strong friendship. After helping Chloe hail a taxi, they bid each other goodbye, and Miranda continues her walk alone. Suddenly, she spots a boy standing in the middle of the street and instinctively reaches out to save him from an oncoming vehicle, only for the apparition to vanish before her eyes, leaving her haunted yet hopeful amidst the bustling city. As Miranda continues her walk along the street, her eyes catch a poster plastered on a lamppost, desperately searching for a missing little boy. The image stirs something deep within her, reminding her of her own harrowing experiences and the lives intertwined in tragedy. Just then, a shiver runs down her spine as she contemplates the fragility of innocence lost. As the world bustles around her, she can't shake the feeling that she is still connected to those who need help, and in that moment, she resolves to make a difference. If you enjoyed this story and want to see more like it, be sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, and leave a like or a comment. Your support truly helps the channel grow. Thank you for watching.